I'm Stephen Bailey. I'm a data engineer at Whatnot. Whatnot is a live stream shopping platform, kind of like a Twitch meets eBay, where we allow enthusiasts to make a living selling things they're passionate about. So if you're in my position, the position I was in, where you're evaluating orchestrators and you're going to commit to one for the foreseeable future, I would recommend. Well, first of all, I would say Dagster is fully production ready. It's like coming into this exploration, you have to ask that question of like, is a startup going to be stable enough for you to build your platform on? We've had zero issues with stability in the platform from the beginning. The second thing I'd say is you want to focus on the value add part, which is an ergonomic experience for your developers and just the agility to getting new pipelines out and plugging them into your existing architecture. And to that extent, I think Dagster has a couple of really great features that it offers. The first is the built-in GitHub Actions. The second is the serverless deployments. So if you can not think about infrastructure for your first transition, for your first several pipelines, that's a great win. And it means you can focus on building out your graph of jobs and pipelines. The third thing I recommend is using the new asset functionality. That's really where Dagster starts to differentiate itself from other competitors, and also becomes a little more compatible with other modern tools like dbt. So the project plan was to lift and shift everything. That was the goal. And we started with a couple of key pipelines, moving them over to Dagster, and really getting the Dagster workflow and developer experience, including things like, how does the Python package look? How do we set up the CI/CD? How do we set up notifications? How do we just get accustomed to all of the new APIs? So we took a couple of trial pipelines, moved them over, ran them in production, and deprecated them in the Airflow instance. And then there was this period of just migrating pipeline after pipeline until we had just a couple of residual ones left in Airflow that we really kept going for quite a while, just as a sort of fallback in case anything happens. We migrated our first set of pipelines, and then we kept a number of them going at the same time as Dagster pipelines were running, just as a sort of backup in case anything went wrong. I think our experience was a little bit like dating, where it takes a couple months for us to build trust in the relationship, trust with the new infrastructure that stood up. We had some Kubernetes issues where pods were getting killed when things were getting scaled, and so it just the migration takes a little bit of time for everyone to build confidence in it. But then what we found was that there's definitely a tipping point where having everything in Dagster became a much faster workflow, much more visible. You'd go back to our Airflow workflow and you kind of be like, oh, what is this? And at that point, we were really able to pull off everything from the Airflow instance and just make it in Dagster. And during that process, we improved most of our DAGs. So we were able to pull over, it's mostly Python modules, so we pull over the functions and just kind of wrap them and run them like we would in Airflow. But during that process, great opportunity to go in and fix some pipelines, harden configurations that were a little squeaky in the Airflow pipelines, and it was really a good opportunity for us to really put that long-term vision of very stable platform and just refresh some of our core processes. All of these data assets that you have out there can be Dagsterized and connected to your other processes. And that's a huge unlock for our team. It allows us to move to a much more event-driven architecture where dbt refreshes things, and then everything that's downstream of those pieces refreshes things. And that's the sort of next level of orchestration that we really wanted to get to, where things were much more event-driven, not just a bunch of schedules that we didn't really know what was hitting what. And so I would recommend starting there. So, ignoring infrastructure if you can, using all of the built-in CI/CD and actions that make things easy and nice, and then focusing on building out your asset graph and leveraging all of that potential early would be the three things that I would recommend. there are some features in Dagster, like the assets, that make it a little easier and make it not just a net move, but a net improvement. The migration challenge is going to be proportional to your DAGs, the amount, your footprint in the orchestrator. And that can be challenged. I think the other piece there is what your DAG dependencies are. Because if you have triggers in Airflow where one DAG is triggering another, and then custom alerting is built on top of that, like those things do take time to migrate over.